And that's my tray of light colors. And that's my tray of darker colors. So I'll use them as I feel I need them. So let's start with something. He's got, I got to go lighter than I want it to be. He's got like a light chestnut sort of color on the side of him. So we'll start off with a creamy yellow color. Maybe get a little white into that because it's getting a little dark already. These colors are very intense, darker than you think they should be. So that's good. I'm just going to use a baby white to clean my brushes off in between colors. And he's got a really pretty brown color, which I don't actually have in Pan Pastels, but let's see what we got here. Kind of a dirty brown color on his back. And maybe we'll get a little of that yellow into that color to soften it up a bit. Maybe a bit of gray. I kind of blow off the excess as I go. We'll get a little darker here on the bottom of his belly. And nothing makes a chickadee look more like a chickadee than getting that black and white head in. So let's just go for it. So it's hard to get it perfectly right with this stage. I call this pre-painting. So with the paint afterwards, I'll refine it. Okay, these little primary cupboards are dark colored, as well as his primaries. And then the secondaries, I'll have white edges. So I'm only just going to do, let's blow some of that off, do a little wee bit. I just really like the way these Pan Pastels look. They go on nicely. Got a hair there. So that'll need a fair bit, because it's quite a detailed bird, it'll need a fair bit of extra painting afterwards. Okay, that establishes the color scheme that I'm going for. So at this stage, I'll leave it here on the tile until I make my background piece, which will be stamped. So I'll film that part later. Okay, I've got my background sheet prepared. It's a number 4 layer of scrap with again another number 4 layer of a better quality clay on top. Again, it's just scraps that I had, but nicer ones. And I've used the stamp. This particular stamp is Best Flexible Mats and Molds. I get mine from Shades of Clay in Canada, because I'm in Canada. This one is called Sticks, and I've pressed it on the top and on the bottom. There's a little seam in the center, but I've repressed trying to get it out. And so now it's prepared anyways. So I'm taking my original drawing, the first one I did, with a rough idea of what I want. He's going to be in a pine tree with some needles coming off the top and off the side. And very lightly just position it where I want it on my journal backing, and let myself have a little outline so that I could go ahead and cut out a piece of clay to act as a branch. So I'm going to put that branch on here now, position where his feet is, and all I did was I let myself see where the feet were. Anything else can be changed as I go. So I'll just stick one of those on there, and then you see I've transferred the clay piece to a bigger tile, because this is getting too big now for the little white tile I had. But now it's time to transfer my Chickadee onto my backing. So I'm going to move the backing out of the way, bring out the Chickadee. So he's sat overnight and cooled down. You don't really want to be moving it when it's still hot, because it'll distort quite a bit. I took a minute this morning and trimmed down his beak a little bit, because sure as anything it's going to grow when you move things around. So just use a good clean blade. I'm starting up at the top of his head. You wouldn't start at his bill, because you'll ruin it, but if you start at the top of the head and then just slide it down, you'll be able to pick it up that way. So sometimes what I like to do is put him on a piece of paper first, just a piece of patty paper. And let's say I didn't know where I wanted to put him. I'd put him on the piece of patty paper, figure out exactly where you want it to go, then lift him up and remove the patty paper. So I'm liking that. That's not too bad. Maybe we'll move him down just a bit for his feet. Okay, so that's not bad. I'm going to use the patty paper just to press them down in place. Make sure I got a good bond. Okay, so then I've made myself some scrap of green to make some leaves. So I'm just going to make a bunch of little skinny strips. So that'll be the leaves, and then I prepared a couple of snakes of black to use for his feet. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of this without any talking. The first thing I'm going to do is round out that branch and sort of make it look a little bit more like a branch, and then we'll get some stuff on it. Okay, I've got my Pan Pastels out again. I'm just going to give the background a little bit of color. So I'm going to start off with a really light blue. little bit of a minty green color, just a little bit around the bird itself. Hit my lamp. You paint with these pastels, they act almost like a regular paint. You can layer them, you can build up your color. So I'm just kind of going for a loose painterly look for now. Pastel is going to be the last thing that you put on because none of the clay is going to stick to this. So it's always the last layer. Now this is one of the applicators that works really well with Pan Pastels. If you want to hit the top parts of a stamp and you don't want it to go inside, if it goes into the crevices of your stamp or your stamped clay, then when you use a brush, that's what's going to happen. If you want it just to skim the surface, you either would use your finger, but with Pan Pastels, your finger doesn't really work very well. It's so creamy, it just seems to all come off, you know, on the first swipe. So these soft, S-O-F-F-T applicators work really well. So an extremely light touch is all you need to bring out some of that detail. Okay, I'm going to put a little color on the branch now. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do, let's get these leaves in position a little bit better. I've got some things that have lifted, so I'm going to spend a little time and make sure everything is pressed down good. Actually, that's not the last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to use my signature stamp on it. Okay, so I just made myself a little stamp that I can put on here and then antique later. I'll just straighten out these edges. Hopefully it stayed the same size as I started, so it'd be hard to tear it off now and check it. One thing I do know, I work with Primo clay all the time. I'm not so sure about some of the other brands, but Primo does shrink. So if I'm just at the right size when it comes out of the oven, it's going to be 1/8 of an inch short. But I don't usually have too much of a problem with that. Okay, so I'm going to bake this now at 275 for an hour and let it cool down completely, and then I'll antique it with some paint and glue it on the journal. So that'll be the next part. So that's my journal cover all painted. So what I'll do now is I'll give it a spray of PYMII, Preserve Your Memories. It's a spray sealer. Doesn't take very long to dry, and one quick spray will do it. Then I'll coat the back with a very thin layer of Weldbond glue and glue it onto my journal, and the project is done. So thanks a lot for watching my process of how I do journal covers, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Bye.